Hello, my name is Mansoor. I'm the director for PMI Sydney chapter and I work with Knowledgehut. And today I'm working on this webinar to give you an introduction to Scaled Agile Framework for Lean Enterprise. So as you know that there are various methodologies in the world. You have the waterfall methodologies, you have the Agile methodologies. So when you talk about the waterfall methodology, it's the PMI and the PMBOK methodologies, which is on version 6 right now. And then you have the Prince2 methodologies from the waterfall world. From the Agile world, you have Scrum, XP, Lean, Kanban, DSDM, and SAFe, leading SAFe. So SAFe is one of the frameworks which marries well both in the waterfall world and the Agile world. So the world is of a digital disruptor and it's affecting every industry across the globe. Right, so that's a very important work today in our industry. The world is changing. So the Ubers, the Airbnbs, and all the other disruptors in the world are changing the way how we operate. So we are living in the world of continuous disruption. So Airbnbs, Ubers affect completely. So this is Dean Leffingwell, the creator of SAFe. He talks about every business as a software and all businesses moving towards agility. Agility is not an option. No longer agility is an option, but it's a norm. It's a norm on how the teams operate. It's the team's imperative. It's the team to struggle to build big systems, new systems, and we have to think through many systems and complex systems. Complex systems make our world different. So this is where agility comes in picture. So there is strategic agility, there is business agility, there is a business imperative for agility. So every system in the software is not an option. So that's an imperative of building big systems. And that's what Dean Leffingwell talks about. Dean Leffingwell has been my mentor. So way back in 2014, when he was in Australia, I happened to take his session. So that is where my journey towards SAFe started altogether. And right now we are on SAFe 4.5. That's the version we are working on. All right, so a little about this retrospective. How can we compete when our retrospectives read like this? We have dissatisfied customers, late delivery, hard to manage distributed teams, poor morale, phase gates do not work, massive and complexity in growth, underestimated dependency, no way of improving systematically, little or too little visibility, early commitment to design that don't work. For example, we start off with the design and the design phase starts off too early, and then there is little or no commitment, or it starts off too early. So problems are discovered quite late, no way to systematically improve, hard to manage distributed teams. Teams are located in different locations. Underestimated dependencies. So all these create big bottlenecks and issues in the environment. So as Edward Deming talks about, it's not enough that management commits itself to the quality and productivity. They must also know what they must do. Such a responsibility cannot be delegated, and that's a challenge, right? So Deming in 1996 talks about the management should commit itself to the quality and productivity, and they must know what they must do. Such responsibilities cannot be delegated, right? So that is where it becomes quite important. And it is the senior leadership team, it's the management who actually is responsible for the change. And change is imperative, and change plays a very important part of our lives, of our teams. Right, so change management is quite important. It is what they must do. They must embrace lean and agile mindset. So lean enterprise, agility from an organization perspective, lean management from an organization perspective plays an important imperative. Right, so that is where it becomes important. So the leaders must endorse change. The leaders must advocate change. The leaders must support the change, and they are the ones to encourage the organization agility and to have the organization mindset. Building lean enterprise. So when we talk about lean philosophy, it talks about fail fast. It talks about quicker adaptability to systems. It talks about building an enterprise which is lean, which targets on growth, the productivity, value, design, quality being the core of lean enterprise, where we talk about systems, we talk about transformation, we talk about getting results, quicker results, faster results, being nimble, being agile, leading towards success is important. So when we talk about SAFe, why SAFe? SAFe has got about 220,000 trained professionals across 110 countries. 70% are among the Fortune 500 companies, 2 million people, 30% to 75% faster time to go to market, 75% increase in productivity, faster engagement, it's freely available, it's heavily configurable. So when we talk about any methodology or any framework, it has to be scalable, it has to be configurable. It's the fastest growing methodology, so it's 11th stated in the Agile report by version 1, and it's one of the fastest. So training is pretty comprehensive. You have the leading SAFe as one of the course, and then you have SAFe for teams, SAFe for product owners, SAFe for Scrum masters. You have all those different trainings which are from the SAFe stable. SAFe is the world's leading framework for enterprise agility. So when we talk about strategy and execution, portfolio programs and teams, it all binds together. So SAFe is a knowledge base for proven integrated principles, practices, lean and agile philosophies, and DevOps. So they all come together. So here in Scaled Agile Framework, we talk about systems thinking, we talk about hard systems, soft systems, we talk about how these systems interact with each other and how that increases agility across an organization. Right? So we need to think about projects and programs as different systems. So here in SAFe, we don't talk about projects, but we talk about teams, team programs, and portfolios. That's what we talk about, and that's how it increases agile mindset and enables us to embrace lean mindset. So the House of Lean is covered by the embracing agile values. So you have the values as the top roof of this house and leadership as the foundation. You have respect for people and culture, which is very important. Flow, maintaining a flow, innovation, relentless improvement are the main 4 pillars. So let's talk a little more about House of Lean here. So when we talk about value, in the traditional triangle, in the traditional iron triangle, we talk about scope, time, and cost. But here we have value at the paramount. So at the highest mount is the value, and scope, time, and cost are one part of the iron triangle, and the other is quality. So basically, Lean talks about delivering value, embedding quality into the process. Respecting for people and culture plays an important role. You might have heard about culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So no matter how great your organization culture is, but if you do not have respect for people, it becomes a big challenge. So respect for people and its culture plays a very important role. Flow. When we talk about flow, we talk about the cues, the bottlenecks. We talk about how the process flow happens, and we talk about reducing bottlenecks, increasing productivity. That plays an important role. Then we have innovation. Innovation comes from the teams. So the teams advocate innovation. So the people who actually work on the product or services increases innovation. So that's where innovation starts off. Relentless improvement. So improvement has to be continuous. So there should be a continuous improvement. So continuous improvement plays a very important role. And again, we as safe agilists and leaders, as strategic leaders, we need to talk about how we are going to improve the system and how we are going to optimize the system and move forward. Last but not least, leadership plays a very, very important role. So, can someone answer the difference between a leader and a manager? I give you a minute for you to think about who a leader is and who a manager is. A leader has followers. A leader inspires people. A leader communicates. A leader inspires. A leader shows an intent. A leader shows a direction. Right? Versus a manager manages people. A manager is a person who perspires people rather than inspires people. So there's a lot of conversations between a leader and a manager which we go through a Leading Safe course. And then we talk about the Agile Manifesto. So a little history about Agile Manifesto. So what happened in 2001 is in ski resort Utah, we had people who came in from all the different walks of the Agile world, from Lean, from DSDM, from XP, Kanban, DSDM, and all the other methodologies. They all came together and they wrote something called the Agile Manifesto. But the beauty of Agile Manifesto is it doesn't say that you need to dump your processes and tools. It talks about individual and interactions over processes and tools. It talks about working software over comprehensive documentation. So the word software can be replaced by the word deliverable. So a working deliverable is more important than a list of hundreds and thousands of documents which nobody ever uses. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So when we talk about customer collaboration, we talk about a customer and its journey. We talk about customer journey. We talk about how customer interacts with your product, systems, and tools. It talks about how customers interact with each other, how they collaborate, how they form tribes, how they lead towards success over a contract negotiation. Contracts are legal binding documents. They're great. But in a waterfall environment, what happens is a contract binds the organization or a product or a service. So having a contract is great, but customer collaboration is more important because you're walking with your customer in deep, dark forest, and a collaboration is more important than a contract negotiation. Responding to change over following a plan. So yes, change is inevitable. Change is the crux of the environment, and we need to respond to this change rather than following a plan. A plan is great. So a plan can take an organization from point A to point B, but responding to a change is more important. So there are values on items which we value on right, but the items on left are more valued. So what happened in ski resort Utah? You have all these people come in and they signed up an Agile Manifesto, and this is where it all started. Safe Lean Agile Principles. So we have Agile Lean Principles, which talks about taking an holistic view, which is an economic view. So taking an economic view plays a very important role. So basically it talks about a big picture. It talks about how would you like to see the economic view end to end. Applying systems thinking. Think about systems as not discrete individual products or services or programs of work. When you talk about system thinking, you're talking about multiple systems and how they interact with each other. So a quick example about system is when you talk about you as an individual, your system as an individual, but how you interact with your family, with your wife, with your children, and how do you disseminate love and affection, right? So that is all part of this system thinking and complex thinking and complex systems. And that is where the complexities come into picture. Assume variability and preserving options. So yes, it's very important to preserve options, but also see what the variabilities are and what the variabilities would be. Build incrementally with faster and integrated learning cycles. Based milestone on objective evaluations. Milestones are great. Milestones are good. Milestones are excellent. But what happens in a milestone environment is you tend to fix things, and then you tend to track things based on your milestones. So have your milestones, but have objective based milestones which are around the working systems. Milestones should not create a bottleneck. So it's very important for you to find that milestones should not create a bottleneck. Visualize and limit work in progress. Reduce batch size and manage queue length. That's the sixth principle of safe, lean, agile principles. So it's very important for you to visualize. Work in progress limit is important. So when there's a lot of work which comes in a queue, and this is more of a Kanban view. So what happens in Kanban is, Kanban we talk about work in progress, we talk about flow of work, we talk about reducing batch sizes. So the smaller the batch sizes, the more the flow of your delivery happens. Queues are bad, right? So when you go to a coffee shop and you find it's clogged by many people, it's clogged by many people, then it's very important for you to queue up, right? And then you start picking up the delivery and coffee and all this stuff. So to reduce the bottleneck, you need to reduce the queues, right? So you need to manage the queue lengths, you need to increase the queue length. So there's something called Little's Law, which we will discuss in a Leading Safe class about how do we actually manage the queue length. Apply cadence and synchronize cross domain. So what happens in SAFE is we talk about synchronizing at team level, program level, and portfolio level. There's a synchronization which happens through PI planning. PI planning plays a very important role in cross-domain planning and synchronization. The whole organization comes together for 2 days. It's an event which is worth studying, worth understanding, and worth implementing, where the senior leadership team comes down and they are with the team. They talk about the vision, they talk about the mission, they talk about the key features which they're going to build, what are the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So that plays an important role in synchronization and cross-domain planning. Unlocking the intrinsic motivation of knowledge workers. So who are knowledge workers? I give you a minute to think, ponder, and respond. Do we have some answers? Okay. Knowledge workers are the people who work on day-to-day basis. They are the people who work on technology. They are the people who work on nitty-gritty. They are the people who get ingrained to the work what we do. So unlocking the intrinsic motivation of knowledge workers play a very, very important role, and that is where it is important for us to unlock the motivation of knowledge workers and keep them motivated. And motivation is different for different people and different thoughts. It's different. So that is where it plays a very important role to unlock the intrinsic motivation of knowledge workers, and this plays a very, very important role. Finally, the ninth lean and agile principle is to decentralize decision making. So in this course, we talk about decision making, how decision making plays a very important role. And again, decisions can be centralized, decision can be decentralized. Here in this course, we'll talk about how decisions can be effective when they are decentralized. So the frequent decisions, the decisions which are made on day-to-day basis, that has to be decentralized. And the infrequent decisions, the decisions which are taken, at a larger scale of time or larger scale of financial impact, that has to be decentralized. So here we talk about centralizing and actually decentralizing decision making. Building incrementally and accelerate value delivery. So in a waterfall environment, you first gather all your requirements, then you get into your design, implementation, verification. You create tons and tons and tons and tons of documents, and finally you have a system. Sometimes the system can be tested, sometimes the system is untested, sometimes it's verified, sometimes it's unverified, and finally you may provide a system which may be working or not working or partially working to an organization or to a business. Whereas in Agile, we talk about incremental delivery. So here we talk about incremental delivery, where we talk about how do we deliver iteratively. Right? So how do we deliver iteratively? Can we deliver iteratively? So that plays an important role. And then we talk about Sprints and iterations are nothing but short duration milestones. The Scrum people call it as sprints, but whereas in Scaled Agile framework we talk about iterations. Iterations are nothing but short duration milestones. At the end of each milestone, there is a unique product, service, or deliverable. So in Scrum environment, these iterations can range from a week to 2 weeks to 4 weeks, but in SAFe we talk about having a 2 weeks time boxed iteration. I just quickly threw a word called time box. Does anyone know what time box is? Give you a minute to think. Okay. The word time box means there is a time allocated. There's a start time, there is an end time. So time boxing talks about a start time and it talks about an end time. So time boxing prevents Parkinson's law. So you might have heard of Parkinson's disease or Parkinson's syndrome, but Parkinson's law talks about work expands based on time available or time given. So that plays a very important role. So work expands based upon time given. So time boxing prevents Parkinson's law. It prevents students' syndrome. Student syndrome is a syndrome where the students get to work towards the last minute. Remember, you, me, and others were all university students at one point of time, right? So this is where student syndrome comes into picture, and it's very important to get rid of that student syndrome. So Abraham Lincoln once said about time boxing for Parkinson's law: if I give you a tree to chop and an axe to chop a tree, and give you one whole day, one complete day to chop tree, you would take a look at the tree from the top, from the bottom, and from the sidewards, and then you would start spending half a day doing the analysis, paralysis, and then you would start chopping the tree. Right? So work expands based upon time available or time given. So an iteration prevents Parkinson's law, it prevents student syndrome, and thus enabling quicker and faster and incremental delivery, leading towards success. And it also allows fail fast mode. So it talks about failing fast, it talks about running iteratively on a sprint basis. And deliver better economies of scale. Early delivery provides faster value and faster feedback. So we talk about value delivery here based upon time. So you have value delivery which is incremental, and in waterfall what happens is it is towards the end, the value is given towards the end. The earlier feedback provides value to the customer, and it allows the customer to go faster to the market. And at the end of the day, it's the customer who defines the value. So defining value plays an important role, and the customer defines what value means to him, her, or the organization. So value delivery plays a very, very important role in the Agile framework. And again, value. When we talk about value in a process, you have value-added activities and you have non-value-added activities. When we talk about value-added activities, it doesn't mean that it doesn't add value to your organization or to your system. When you talk about non-value-added activities, it talks about, can you minimize non-value-added activities and can you increase value-added activities? Alright, let's talk about building the lean enterprise. So how do we build the lean enterprise? The first and foremost important part of building a lean enterprise is to have a good leader in place. A good leader who can communicate, a good leader who can show intent, a leader who can show a direction, who can show organization where it has to head towards. Alright, so let's start building the enterprise with Essential SAFe. So when you log into www.scaledagilepframework.com, you get to see the big picture. The big picture is pretty interesting. You get to see a lot of information on this big picture. Let me simplify, let me synopsize what the big picture talks about. So the big picture talks about the lean, agile lean leadership as the base, as the foundation. It talks about the core values. It talks about the agile lean mindset. So the organization mindset has to move towards agility. That's important. It talks about SAFe principles, which we just covered, and it talks about the roadmap, how SAFe is to be implemented. And it gives a section for the SPCs, which is SAFe Program Consultants. So that forms the base of the essential framework of SAFe. Now, the essential SAFe framework consists of two palettes, that is the team palette as well as the program palette. So let me quickly cover what is there in the team palette and then take you to the program palette. So in a team palette, you have a development team. So the development team consists of developers, testers. You can configure your team. You have a Scrum Master who's a servant leader who upholds the principles and practices of Lean and Agile philosophy. You have the product owner. The product owner is the captain of the ship. He is in charge of the local content, right? And then you have the teams who follow the extreme programming, which is XP principles or the Scrum principles or the Kanban principles. So Kanban makes your work visual, whereas Scrum gives you stability and gives you iterations, and it gives you certain ceremonies and certain artifacts in a Scrum framework. So as a team, we plan, we execute, we review, we retrospect. So as for the Scrum framework, you start off with an iteration planning, and then the team starts working on the backlog. Here it is the team backlog, and they prioritize the stories. All requirements are called stories, and they start working on the stories as they go. They have daily stand-up meetings at the end of every day, and then they start working on the deliverables, and they start managing the tasks and the stories. That plays an important role. And then they review, they retrospect. Retrospect happens in a double loop mechanism. They learn from one iteration and they incorporate in the next. Each sprint has got goals, or each iteration has got its iteration goal, right? So it starts off with the PI planning. The program increment planning is a sync between both the team level and the program level. So you have multiple iterations. So basically you have 4 iterations, and the 5th iteration is your innovation planning iteration, which allows the team to build quality and hardening and testing and all those things also. Load testing happens also towards the end. So basically at a team level, it has got 5 iterations, and each iteration has got iteration goals. The PI planning plays a bridge between the program and the team level. Any questions from the team level? So if you do attend my class Leading SAFe in Sydney or Melbourne or any of the Australian location, I do cover this much more in detail here. It's a 2-day program. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of activities where we have a lot of conversations between what the team does and what the program does. So now going to the program level, you have system architects, your product management team. So the product management team the product owners lies with the product management team. So product management team are at a program level, and product owners are at a team level. You have a release train engineer. So a release train engineer is like a program manager in a program environment. Then you have backlog. So backlog is nothing but your wish list. So you have a program backlog which gets percolated into a team backlog at a team level. This program backlog has inputs from a portfolio backlog. So as we move further in the palette, we will see the portfolio backlog. You will see business owners who are there on the day of PI planning, and basically you launch an agile release train which continuously explore, integrates, deploy. You release on demand. That's important. And there's a DevOps culture which is embedded into the organization. So DevOps consists of culture, automation, lean flow, measurement, and recovery at all levels. On the left-hand side of your palette, you have vision at an organization level, at a program level, team level. You have a systems team to help both the program and the team, and then you have the lean UX team, which helps teams. So here's where the real agile team and train happens. So that's where number 1 is your agile principles, as I said. Number 2 is your real trains and teams. Number 3 is about synchronization, and number 4 is PI planning. Number 5 is about DevOps and releasability. Right, so number 6 is your system demo, right, and this is what consists of. Number 7 is inspect and attack. Number 8 is your architectural runway. Architectural runway is used to build the trains. So the teams consume the architectural runway, and it allows a path for your trains to run smoothly. And number 10 is your agile lean leadership, which creates some value to the organization. So this is in a nutshell about what essential safe is all about. So this is how it works. Nothing beats an agile team. It's very important. They are cross-functional. They can define, they can build, they can test valuable things. They apply XP, Scrum, and Kanban practices. They define together, they test together, they build together, right? And again, each iteration is nothing but a mini plan, do, check, adjust. So Deming cycle, which is plan, do, check, act, is slightly tweaked to plan, do, check, adjust. So that is where the organization basically revolves around plan, do, check, adjust. The teams deliver value every 2 weeks. So at the end of each iteration, they deliver value. That's important. So basically, Agile team consists of 50 to 125 practitioners. So the Safe Agile team spans across 50 to 125 practitioners with a common vision, and a common mission. They apply cadence and synchronization. So increments are every 6 to 12 weeks. They provide a vision, they provide a roadmap, they provide an architectural guidance for delivering the team. So basically, you're getting everyone together as necessary here. So you have the business, the product management, the system architect, the program, the hardware, the software, the testing, the deployment. They all come together and form an agile release train. So when you attend my course, when you attend this program, Leading Safe, and other courses, I do talk about an analogy of a train. So if you're planning to travel from Sydney to, say, New York, how soon would you plan your travel? Could you guess? Okay, let me tell you. If you're planning for travel between Sydney and New York, you might plan 3 months or 6 months or 8 months or even 1 year ahead of time. Right? So you'd plan ahead of time. You'd plan much ahead of time. But if you have to plan to travel, to go to an airport, how soon would you plan? Not too much ahead, right? You just turn up and go to the station if you're on a weekday. But if you're a weekend, you might have to know the timings to see if there are any track works. So basically, SAFE talks about launching trains, right? And the teams being part of the train, and we know that there are multiple trains which are running. And if there is something which is missed in one iteration, can be caught up by the second iteration or the next PI. So as business leaders, it's important to endorse that change does not happen during an iteration. So the business commits itself that change is not happening during an iteration, but whereas the team is ready to accept any changes in the subsequent iterations. To deliver continuous value, we talk about DevOps, we talk about releasing on demand, we talk about continuous exploration. So continuous exploration happens multiple ways. The product owners get to explore, the product management team get to explore with the external customer, with the environment. They talk about continuous exploration using Gemba walks. Gemba walks are nothing but go and see the process. They talk about continuous exploration through customer surveys, through Delphi techniques. Continuous integration happens, continuous deployment happens. So there is a continuous exploration, continuous integration, and continuous deployment happens. So when we talk about DevOps, it's a culture of shared responsibility, automation, lean flow. You measure everything and you recover. So this is called the calmer approach for DevOps. So culture, automation, lean flow, measurement, and recovery. Let me give you a quick pause so that you can assimilate this information. Now let's get back to what PI planning is. So PI planning is a 2-day event where we talk about the whole organization coming together. So all stakeholders are here face to face. They can be typically in multiple locations, but they're all here face to face using technology. So if you have people who are spread across the globe, you can get them using various technologies. The management sets the mission with minimal possible constraints. So the management's responsibility is to remove the constraints with minimum constraints, and the requirements and designs emerge while there is a conversation happening with the team. So there is a short video which you can watch on YouTube, which is about PI planning, which you could watch it. So there's a URL below here which talks about the PI planning. So if you click on the link below here, you can watch a short video. So this video basically educates how organizations conduct PI planning. So in my scaled agile program, I do talk about the 2-day event, and I give you the complete agenda for this 2-day event. What happens in this 2 days, how it works, who are the participants, how do they interact, how do the teams interact with each other, what is the role of the Scrum Masters facilitating, and what is the role of a release train engineer for this overall picture. The team demonstrates full systems every 2 weeks. So the system demo happens every 2 weeks. That's important. That is where the systems get integrated, the teams come together. We have an integrated solutions demo, which has got an objective milestones. The demo for staging environment of the nearest proxy is taken. You have inspect and adapt every PI. So every PI we talk about the problem solving techniques, the 5 whys, the root cause analysis, the fishbone diagram, the Ishikawa diagram, the Pareto chart, the 80-20 principle. Right? So the biggest root cause are identified here through brainstorming sessions, and again the backlog refinement happens, the backlog improvement happens, and items get added to the backlog. Every impediment which is found actually limits the velocity. The velocity is nothing but the team's rate of progress. So a team's rate of progress is counted as velocity, and any factor which is impacting team is a impeding factor. Now the next palette which comes along is the portfolio safe. So you have an organization which is an enterprise, which has got its matrix, which has got its milestones, community of practice, roadmap, vision. So that's a side palette which we talk about, and this links to the strategic theme of an organization. So at a portfolio level, you have epic owners, you have enterprise architects, you have lean portfolio management. There is a lean budget which flows through value streams, epic enablers, linked to KPIs. So you see a backlog right on top. So this portfolio backlog links to the program backlog, and a program backlog links to the team backlog. So there is a link between these 3 palettes, and then you have lean budgets, you have epic owners, you have value streams, and you have KPIs. So as Jeffrey Moore talks about, most strategies dialogues end up with executive talking at cross purpose because nobody knows exactly what is meant by vision and strategy, and no 2 people are ever quite agreed on a topic where it belongs. And that's why when you ask members about an executive team to describe or explain a corporate strategy, you frequently get wild and different answers. We just don't have good business discipline to converge on an issue, and this is the abstract, and that is the problem. So Jeffrey talks about exactly the challenge of what an organization faces and how this organization. So he writes a book called Escape Velocity, and then this talks about organization talking about different direction, different thoughts, different language, and different tangents, and people are in different tangents about what the challenges are and how it works. Applying lean portfolio management, talking about connecting the portfolio to enterprise strategy and investment funding, establish value stream, establish a flow, which is important. You can talk about a PMO, a community of practice. You talk about a value stream. You talk about lean portfolio management and operation. You talk about governance. You talk about forecast. You talk about budget. You talk about compliance. So lean portfolio management is all about funds and flows and strategic investment, about lean governance. So these are the 3 basic pillars: the strategy and investment funding, the lean portfolio operations, and the lean governance. So these are the 3 major areas which we talk about. Finally, the last palette is about large solution safe. So you can have the team safe, program safe, and top of it you can have a large solution safe. In a large solution safe, basically you're trying to integrate your customer, you're trying to integrate your supplier here, So there is a solution train which forms. So there is a solution train engineer to take care of this. There's a solution train engineer, solution train management, solution management team, solution architect, and you have compliance. You have solution demos, capabilities, enablers, and finally there's a solution content which gets developed. So organizations can choose three palettes, which is team, program, and portfolio, or they can choose team, program, and large solutions, or more complex organization can choose all the four palettes, which is team, program, large solutions, and portfolio. Right? So when you come to my class, I discuss about all these four palettes. 4.5 has got the large solution safe, which is got incorporated. So that is where the change is between 4.0 and 4.5. Right? So large solution safe talk about the solution content and enabler, which I just covered in the last slide. I'll give you a minute to pause, think, relax. Solution trains coordinate release train engineers and suppliers, capture fixed and variable solution intent. So your solution can be fixed, can be variable. So it's very important to know which part of your solution has to be fixed. For example, there is a compliance in a system. You need to fix a few things, whereas there could be some part of the system which can be flexible. So you need to understand what are the things you can fix and what are the things you can actually flex. You need to integrate, test the full solution, and implement continuous compliance. So that's where it is. Now, coming to the next module about leading transformation. Transformation is everywhere. Transformation is part and core of every business, right? So the foundation of transformation starts off with leadership. So leadership is important. People already doing their best. The problem is with the systems. The only management can actually solve the systems. It's management's responsibility to take care of the systems. So this is the roadmap of implementing SAFe. You start off with an idea or a tipping point to go SAFe. When your organization has decided, let's go SAFe, now they start implementing SAFe. They start training the change agents. They talk about training executives, managers, leaders. They talk about identifying value streams, creating the implementation plan, preparing to launch an agile release train, training the scrum masters, product owners, SAFe for teams, launching more agile release train, extending to the portfolio, sustaining improvement. And this is how the journey starts off, and that is where it helps achieve business results. How do we get our results? The business results. It is 30 to 70% faster time to go to market. So going to market is an important factor. Many organizations struggle with the minimal viable product and take it to the market. 20 to 70% defect reduction happens when you implement SAFe, and 20 to 50% increase in productivity with 10 to 50% happier and motivated employees. So these are the business results we achieve when we implement SAFe. Faster to market, defect reduction, increased productivity, happy and motivated employees, leading to customer satisfaction and leading to more customers who are your brand ambassadors or your promoters. So if you log into scaleagileframework.com and go to the case studies, you will see lovely case studies right from Accenture to Cisco to Fitbit to Sony Interactive Entertainment, Intel, and many, many more. If you look at the industries, you will find the telecom, the software, the electronics, the financial services, the healthcare, the government, the insurance, you name it, and you can find it. So SAFe has been implemented in all these environments, and you will find some good studies, good case studies for reading, which you can read and which you can enjoy and which you can implement in your organization while implementing SAFe. It's more important for you to gain the knowledge. Knowledge is power, and this knowledge is enhanced when you disseminate information and when you actually pass on the information to people. So knowledge sharing plays a very, very, very important role. First, you need to educate yourself. Leading SAFe is one of the courses. It's a 2-day course for executives, managers, stakeholders. You have SAFe for teams, which is just for the team. It's a role-based for the teams. It's for the teams who are working on day-to-day Scaled Agile Framework or Scrum or XP or any of the practices. SAFe for product owners and product managers, which is a very important role-based training for product owners, product managers. SAFe for Scrum Masters. Again, these are all role-based core trainings. And then we have more courses as we go further, which is Advanced Scrum Master Implementing SAFe, which is a 4-day course. SAFe Release Trained Engineer, it's a specialized course. And there are many more courses which are coming down the lane, which are being developed by the Scaled Agile Academy. Learning from community. We have got a great community of practice where we have SAFe meetups happening in Mumbai, Chicago, Paris, Mexico. Can have these SAFe meetups happening. It's a SAFe meetup which talks about all these events happening everywhere. You have 200,000 plus trained professionals here from the SAFe community where we talk about the meetups and the events which are happening. For ensuring success, we have 170 partners across 50 countries, 350 cities, with a worldwide access of training and coaching. So we have a partner directory which you can access. Knowledgehut is one of the partners, and you can always have access to the trainings from Knowledgehut for all these certifications which we just went through above for leading SAFe for teams, product owners, Scrum Masters, Advanced Scrum Masters, and so on. So training and coaching for all SAFe roles, and also implementing a consulting disciplinary across industries and disciplines play a very important role. So you're talking about not only training people, but also having a consulting service and have a platform for visibility and flow plays a very important role. So that's the Scaled Agile Partner Network. Start exploring your journey, reading articles, guidance, presentations, white papers, videos, case studies. These are all very important. So as you go further, you can read articles, presentations, white papers, videos, case studies, and this forms a knowledge base of SAFe, and it's freely revealed. It's free resources which you can get, which you can read, which you can present, which you can read about, white papers, videos, and case studies. So it is freely revealed knowledge base which access. All right, this concludes the session. So from Knowledgehut, we present Scaled Agile Framework trainings, whether it is leading SAFe, whether it is SAFe for teams, whether it is SAFe for Scrum Masters, whether it's SAFe for release trained engineers. So my name is Mansoor Mohammed. You can add me on LinkedIn. Pretty actively working with Scaled Agile Academy and Knowledgehut. And thank you, Knowledgehut, for providing me with an opportunity to present this 1-hour webinar on Introduction to Scaled Agile Framework. I hope the session was informative. I hope you enjoyed the session. So if you have any questions, you can mail me at mansoor@knowledgehut.com. Hope the session was informative, and thanks for your time. Thanks for watching this video.